YouTube land.
YouTube land?
Yeah, YouTube land. VMware Tanzu.
Why do they call it YouTube land?
Oh, there we go. I was right there. Let's go back. Okay, so if you're joining us in the YouTube stream, I've been doing what I call ambient Tanzu, as an experiment. And so what I'm going to do now is go through and try out what? Oh, are you going to be back? What? Okay. So I'm going to try out doing the Nutella tasting thing. She had to go use the toilet, so I'm going to come back in here. All right, so I'm going to launch into it. Let me note the time. It's 12. Okay. Let me further. So we do these executive roundtable things, and we used to do them in person. But now we do them online. And over the past couple of, I guess it's almost 2 years now when we've been doing them online, a year and a half. We did wine tastings, and we have a magic show one tonight. So we're experimenting with doing one where I do Nutella tasting. And so I have one tomorrow in the morning. And so this is it's actually the third time I've practiced it. But it's good to practice going through it and make sure you get your prattle set up correctly, all that kind of stuff. So this is a little test of doing that. And that's why we are here streaming live. So now I am going to note the time and start with that. So it's 12:22. All right. Oh, she's back. So instead of noting the time, I'm going to wait. So let's see. I'm going to go through my checklist. So I've got that on. Oh, take items out of box, right? So this is what I would be doing before. Actually, I don't want to take the item because I want it to be kind of like somewhat of a surprise.
Daddy.
Let me clean this up. Uh-huh.
The people can barely see me.
Oh, I'll switch over so they can see you better, okay? So, put that here. Okay. Now I'm going to note the time. We'll say 24. Well, thanks for coming to this event. Oh, wait. Let me pull back so you can see my daughter. There we go. Now it's actually, we'll just say 25. Well, thanks for coming to this event. We're doing something new for the first time with y'all, so I'm very happy that you were interested in doing it. Normally we like to kind of go out about and meet people like yourselves who are interested in improving the way that you do software and organizations around EMEA and things like that. And we used to host these events in person when that was a thing. Hopefully we'll get back to that, have dinners where we would talk about, amongst yourselves and what we do in the VMware Tanzu land. And we would do wine tastings, magic shows. And so one of the new things we wanted to try out is what we call Nutella tasting. So I'll tell you a little bit about that, but let's jump right into it. So you should have a box of things that you got. Now, I don't know if you've looked. Here, will you keep your hands off of that? It makes a lot of noise. If you haven't looked in the box yet, then this will be exciting. So I want you to open up the box, and you'll see that there are several things in there. Let's go ahead, if you haven't already, to take everything out of the box and get ready for it. Make sure that you find this spoon that we have, and most importantly, the Nutella that's there. And if you want to keep it in the box or whatever, take out these breadsticks as the first thing that we're going to start with. And so when we go over this stuff, let's get out the breadsticks, go ahead and open them up, and let me emphasize, actually follow along and do this stuff.
I'm gonna be the taster.
That's right. You have total permission as part of your work and professional life to goof off and do these things. So just relax into it. And to help relax into it, we're going to start with these breadsticks. Now the breadsticks, as breadsticks are, they're supposed to just kind of, here, you want to open this up and pretend like, obviously what you can do is you can dip the breadsticks in there and just try it out. But I think these are a good kind of neutral thing that you can start using to kind of get into the Nutella. So open up one of the things, you might have to take the film off, and just put a breadstick in there and try it out. And it's like many places, I don't know if where you live they have this, but they'll sell Nutella and pretzels together. And I think this is a nice substitute, a nice version of that. It's not too offensive. Lets you taste the Nutella. It's nice and crunchy. So we've got those out, and just keep those out as something that you can go back to if you want to have some Nutella and not try it on the things we have. Now, we've got this spoon here that you can use. And if you need to, you can turn your camera off if you want to do the following. But really, if you just want to put the spoon in the Nutella and eat it straight out of the Nutella, we won't tell anyone. That's totally fine. But let's go to the next thing. And what we're going to do, let's get your banana chips out, which I've dropped on the floor here. Let's get those. Open them up. Banana chips, right? So go ahead, open them up. You want to get a banana chip out. You probably are going to want to use your spoon. I'll set this up for you. My daughter is going to be eating this stuff instead of me. So, you can see, I recommend when you're first tasting Nutella on something that you put a lot of Nutella on it the first time. So, let me hand this over to her. And I'm going to give this to my daughter. She can go through the tasting. I should have mentioned that you should have some water if you want to. But I think bananas are a good start because bananas and Nutella go together well, right? And they have a crunchiness and a saltiness that's delicious. So it's a good thing to kind of start getting into it. It should be enjoyable by everyone. Some people don't like bananas, so sorry about that. But it's an easy way to kind of get that taste of Nutella going in there. And if you need to, have some water. It's kind of an interesting thing to have breadsticks during that to mix the flavors. But here's the mindset I want us to go into when we're doing this. Is I want you to think about doing things in, getting to the way that we do a lot of software stuff. When you're tasting this, you can just enjoy yourself for sure. But if you want to kind of experiment with a software way of doing things, you can do the small batch loop. And when you're tasting it, think this is something, as I'll get into, you do with software. But before you taste it, come up with a theory of what it's going to taste like, what your experience is going to be. Are you going to like it, not like it? And think about how you would measure it, right? And this is key, is like, it kind of keeps honesty of like, am I going to measure it based on the sweetness, the saltiness, the crunchiness, the novelty of it? How would I know if I like something or not? Then you run the experiment and you kind of do the output. And I think as we get a little weirder with our selection of stuff, this is really going to help you, I guess, kind of be honest with the tasting, but also force you through some of the ways of doing things. So, keep enjoying the bananas. I'll just tell you briefly, of course, about Nutella. Now, Nutella, as you probably know, is composed of hazelnuts, chocolate, sugar, some other ingredients. But it comes from this luxury chocolate called Gianduja, which I coincidentally had recently, which is also made of hazelnuts and chocolate, but it's kind of more of a solid thing. So there's a long history of that, it being a luxury chocolate, how things came to Nutella. There's a great 35-part blog series about the history of Gianduja leading to Nutella, if you're really interested. But eventually, and feel free to have some more of the banana chips and the breadsticks now. Why don't you have some more, Alejandra? But eventually, Pietro Fiaro comes along, and he wants to kind of democratize Gianduja. So he basically creates the Nutella recipe. It's spreadable. It's no longer expensive and luxury because just a little bit spread on something, as you're finding out, goes a long way. And then it becomes, first he names it La Super Crema, and then it becomes this kind of, I don't know, pantry item, a very commonplace thing starting in the 50s and the 60s. And now in Europe, it's everywhere, right? Like I think everyone grows up with Nutella and it's available. It's kind of a common thing. As we'll get into, this is not really the case in America, but there's some other history there. So that's what we have here. I mean, it's a great story of product-driven innovation, right? There's this need that Fierro sees in the market that this gianduja is too luxurious, too high-end. It's not getting out to enough people. We're a candy confectionery sweets company. We need to expand and grow into new markets. We need to spread out what we have. And that's kind of where Nutella comes from, right? Which is a pretty sweet story, if I don't say so myself. So, all right, let's move along, because I want to leave plenty of time to kind of talk about digital transformation, the thrilling topic. You're not doing it anymore. Wait, we're coming up on the best thing, though. Now, you might have reluctance, but just stick with it. Okay, the next thing we want to do, where did I put them? This is, you know, going to be what you remember most. And this is where you really need to just prepare your mind and just go for it. Apply that small batch loop to what's going on here. So let me switch over. You want to get out the olives. Now, these are Spanish olives. I guess maybe we could have Italian olives, whatever. I don't think it really matters that much.
With olives.
How about you just have an olive then? Okay?
No, I'm not.
All right. Well, you know, if you don't want to taste it, that's fine. You can stick to the breadsticks or the banana chips. Uh-oh, she's gone. Okay. You don't want to wait for the bugles? All right, bye. See you later. We've already had someone drop out. This is not good for our lead gen and closure. We'll see how what goes there. Anyhow, let's go over this view. So what you want to do, we're really just going to jump into this. And let's apply the small batch thing here, right? Like, think about your theory of is this going to be good or not? And how are you going to kind of evaluate? What's your metrics? And I want to suggest a few metrics. The way you're going to experiment with it is pay attention to the first bite, your first sense of it when you're chewing on it. Then think about while you're chewing it, what your reaction to it is. And then I think crucially what you want to pay attention to is kind of the aftertaste of it. What does it taste like afterwards? So, and you know, just measure it based on like if it's good or not. So let's jump right into it. Let me move over here. So what you're going to want to do is you literally, I mean, of course, literally, I don't know how you would metaphorically do it. Take an olive out, and I recommend, let me go over here, getting the spoon. In case you don't like it, you don't want to have olive taste in there. So just, I always recommend a huge amount of Nutella. So just go in there and put a gigantic amount on. Then I would take it and I would put it in Nutella part first. And remember, let's pay attention to the three phases. What it tastes like first encounter, then what goes on while you're chewing. Go ahead and put it in your mouth. And then the aftertaste, the flavor glow. It's a weird ride. And, you know, I know it's not for everyone. Whatever. But let's check in with a few people. Does anyone actually like this? That's what's interesting. And you know, describe what's going on there. And I don't know, this would open up to a lot of chat. But we're at about 10 minutes now, which is good. So we would have lots of time for chatting about things. And I really should ask people for their reaction in here. Let me write. Remember, I'm eating up some time here. Remember to ask people for their reaction. So, okay, let me go back to it. So, you know, I think what's interesting about this, most interesting to me, is that it's not so bad, but also you're combining together squishiness and squishiness. The squishiness of the Nutella and the squishiness of the olive. And also the kind of, I don't know, vinegary, salty taste, which, I don't know, I don't think is really that bad. But, so let's, especially with this, let's go to the moving along here after our discussion. I suspect at this point we'll have like 5 minutes left on our 20 minutes. So let's take a drink here. So let's try to clear our palate out, because that olive Nutella combo is very strong, right? I should recommend like cognac to have with this. In fact, let's get a breadstick, because I think that will be the ultimate way to clear things out. Yep. Now, the last one is, let me switch over so you can see it. The last one I want to try to go through. We're going to go over to America and try it with some bugles. Now, what's going to be fun about this is it's, I think bugles are good because it's kind of a fun little tactile experience, and also it looks kind of cool. Now, so take out a bugle, and again, I recommend starting with a tremendous amount of Nutella, right, on your first taste with something, because that basically means that, you know, you'll mostly be tasting Nutella. But you can see right away as you're doing this, what's fun is that you have like a little ice cream cone, right? You want to make sure to have a napkin. So that's kind of cute, right? And I'm not going to eat this because I'm going to talk through it, but before, you know, as you're eating it, again, go through that cycle of like, what do I think this is going to be like? How would I measure it? And kind of observe the characteristics that are good that you like about it. And, you know, I mentioned this going back to the States because when I was growing up, Nutella wasn't really like a thing, right? It's not really, it wasn't introduced to the US until the 80s. I grew up in Austin, Texas. And of course, nowadays, people know about Nutella in all the best ways. And many people actually have it, but it's not really like the same common pantry item that you encounter at other places. And in fact, our Nutella, I would argue, and being an American, I think this is an American tradition. I can posit whatever I want about Americans. But peanut butter is kind of our Nutella, right? Which I think is a little less common around here. But, you know, I don't know where she took it, but I just gave my daughter a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That is like a very common, you know, there's nothing, you know, few things are more American than like Chinese food and, as we call it, American Chinese food and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But anyways, bugles were made in the early 60s in Minnesota, so it's a good American marrying up of things. And it kind of takes you through this tour of, you know, Italian breadsticks. We had the banana chips, back to the Spanish olives, and now we've got this going on. So let me tell you a little bit of what I think about when I eat the bugles and the Nutella. What I like most about it is the crunchiness of it, right? So it's kind of funny because Nutella, of course, is made out of hazelnuts, which are crunchy, and you smooth it out so there is no crunch. So we're adding crunch back in. It would actually be fun to add, you know, broken up hazelnut in there. But I think the crunchiness of it is actually really fun. And of course, the saltiness, right? As with the olives, the saltiness is fun. And I think there's some recent science behind this, that when you have salt on your tongue, it activates these other sweet tasting sensors on your tongue. So it does allow you to taste something different with the Nutella, right? So it gives you an additional fun way of tasting Nutella stuff to add salty into it. I don't know about the paprika. We don't really talk about paprika in the States. We use it on stuff, but it's not a big highlight. And then finally, I think what's interesting is, so these bugles are made out of corn, and it does add this interesting corn taste to it, especially afterwards, and a little bit on the second chewing, if you will. So I don't know, it's a fun little experiment. So how about you? What have y'all thought about eating the bugles and the Nutella? Let's get some reactions, and then we talk about that. And then I'd say, like, all right, well, that's our flavor adventure. You know, I want to transition over to talking about what we basically kind of do through the lens of what our customers do when they're trying to improve the way they do software. What I even mean by that. And as I'm going through this, feel free to eat more of whatever you like. And remember, you can also just eat spoonfuls of Nutella. Or you can eat the things on their own if you don't want to put Nutella on it. But I hope you've discovered something new and interesting. And then, you know, after that, so I ended at 12:40. So I kind of, I can't do math. So 12:40, that's 15 minutes, right? So 12:25 to 35 is 10, then up to 12:40. Then that allows 5 minutes or so for talking, which people will probably go over, but we'll figure it out. You got to be casual with this kind of stuff. So then I would just go over the slides. And, I've got a recording of me doing that somewhere if you're really interested in that. If you go to tanzutalk.com, kind of look around for Executive Roundtable, and you can find that write-up. So I think that was a pretty good run-through there. And, I see some people in the YouTube chat. It is, it's true. You're wondering where this is going. I think you saw. But, there's all sorts of other stuff you can try Nutella on. I really enjoyed putting it on breakfast tacos because that's basically, you kind of make a mole. And I have some video to play for it. Let's see, just for your edification. The video was kind of freezing earlier. But you can see here's the breakfast tacos. It's a little too high resolution to play well, but you can see a breakfast taco is basically, egg on a taco. Now it seems disgusting, but mole is a very traditional Tex-Mex and Latin American kind of dish that combines together chocolate with enchiladas and other things and spices. It's really good, and you kind of get like a really cheap mole if you put Nutella there. Now here's my son trying it on a bacon and cheese omelet, and that was pretty good. I think my son will basically anything associated with Nutella, he will definitely eat it. Not a problem. Let's see what his review was. I kind of forget if he liked it or not. He definitely likes the Nutella. This is what I put the most video. Sorry, so putting it on the pizza. Again, I think it's a little bit of the mole effect. Not really sure why it is Nutella. And my daughter again. And here we go. This is Nutella on cauliflower, which cauliflower is a pretty neutral tasting thing. It kind of mixes together that smooth with smooth. I think Nutella on uncooked broccoli and cauliflower actually would be pretty good because you'd have that crunchiness. Broccoli is a little too strong. I don't know, but that would be good to try it with carrots, other, what do they call it, crude to whatever, basically raw vegetables. And maybe we'll throw that in as well. We, of course, can't do that with these Nutella tastings because you can't, ship things. You need things that are shippable and don't have to be refrigerated. So, anyhow, that was a pretty good run-through. As always, if you're interested in digital transformation and getting better at software, if you click wherever this is eventually posted, I'll put it in, let me see if this will do a multi-chat thing. But if you go to Cote, actually, let me do it this way. If you go to tanzutalk.com/videos, you can find the link to download the 3 books that I have, the 3 O'Reilly books, for free, that kind of go over everything that I've collected, most everything about how to improve the way you do software over the years. And you can also, when you go to tanzutalk.com/videos, you can find the archives of this and stuff like that. So I generally broadcast every Tuesday and Thursday at 10:30 or 11 a.m., Central European time, Amsterdam time. And I think next week I've got some ideas queued up. We have I think it's a Gartner paper on, I forget what it's on, but I thought I would open that up and kind of do a live reading of it. PDF reactions. And I don't know, I'll have a few other things here and there, but hopefully next week I'll do that as well. And with that, I hope you've enjoyed this little Tanzu Talk edition. And, if you have been watching only the Tanzu Talk part in YouTube or the archive of it, I've also been experimenting with doing what I call ambient Tanzu. Do you hear that dad jazz in the background? This has actually been a 2-hour broadcast where I have just been working through some things. I was in not in the psychological way. I was setting stuff up, and I did a little chatting where at StatConf where one of my talks was broadcast, And you could also see me working through the script as I put it together for this and things like that. So I don't know, just subscribe to the Twitch thing and you'll get notified when I launch doing that. Otherwise, you can just enjoy the smaller versions, the more focused things as the Tanzu Talk broadcast. So yeah, as always, go to tanzutalk.com/videos.